Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me today for our whole yoga flow. Actually, before we get started on our mat, I want to let you know that I have a curated playlist for you today, which you can find on my website, which is reviveyogastudio.com. On the digital holy yoga tab, it's our playlist number 3. So if you want to take a second, grab that if you prefer to move with music, but if not, totally fine. And you can move in silence and just with my voice as that fits you and suits you. So set that up for a sec. And then also, if you have a yoga strap, grab it, or take just a really quick sec to grab like a hand towel or something that can make a great yoga towel or yoga strap if you don't happen to have one. So take a minute to just do those things. And then when you're ready, let's just take a comfortable seated position on your mat, whatever position feels best for your body today, just a place you feel like you can be still for a couple of minutes. And as you find your comfortable seated position on the mat, just close the eyes and open the palms to the ceiling. Just a posture of openness, of being present, and of receiving. All to and from God. And just start to notice your breath. Not trying to manipulate it just yet, but just noticing, becoming present with yourself. And just start to notice what's on your mind and on your heart. Just those things might be filling your thoughts. Just notice them, acknowledge them, and just, if it feels appropriate, set them aside to be picked up later today. Or if it feels like something you just need to give the Lord, go ahead and take that to Him right now and just tell Him whatever it is. Just let that breath begin to get deeper. In through the nose, out through the nose. And as you deepen those breaths, try to make the exhales the same length as the inhale. And begin to activate your ujjayi, your victorious breath. Which that as you exhale, you inhale through the nose deeply, and the exhale is just a little constricting in the back of the throat, like if you were fogging a mirror, but with your lips closed. And it's just a warming sensation in the back of your mouth, or back of your throat, and it sounds just a little bit like the ocean, like a seashell up to your ear. Just taking a few cycles of that, continuing to elongate those exhales. Just notice the sounds of your breath and this ujjayi breathing pattern. And continue in these breaths, just warming the body with this breath pattern. And I'll read our scripture for us today. From Isaiah 40, starting in verse 28. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might, he increases strength. Even youth shall faint and grow weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. And just that initial reading, start to notice what has already begun to stand out to you. Perhaps what feelings or thoughts this is bringing up. Perhaps a little section of that, a word or two that really continues to stand out. And just speak that to God. And as we end our 5th full week of quarantine with the coronavirus here in Ohio, perhaps a little longer or shorter depending on where you might be practicing from, just start to notice maybe any weariness. Start to notice the ways where you might be just tired of this. And just speak those to God. Just speak your needs to Him in the midst of this. As the one who understands, it does not at all fault us, but knows that even youths shall faint and be weary, young men shall fall exhausted. But because He, as it says, verse 28, is the everlasting God, the one who does not grow faint and weary, who is so other than us in this way. When we wait on Him, He says, He will renew our strength. He will make us mount up with wings like eagles so that we might run and not be weary, that we shall walk and not faint. And just wherever this happens to meet you today, just honestly tell God about that. Whether it feels like I believe, help my unbelief, or it feels like sweet hope, something you're desperate to drink in deep, just whatever that is, just tell God and invite His Spirit in. And then coming back to that breath, if you've let go of the Ujjayi breath pattern through our intention setting through our scripture, just come back to it. Continuing to hold in your mind and in your heart these words of God, these promises of His, while still being present in your body and in your breath. Then gently fluttering the eyes open, we're going to make our way to tabletop, so you can either roll over the shins or swing the legs around. Spreading the palms wide. Just on your inhale, let that tailbone move up. Belly moves toward the mat, looking up. Exhale is the first thing that moves. Then the tailbone, belly button to spine, rounding through the shoulders, chin to chest. Then inhale initiates again, that tailbone moves up. Just furling and unfurling the spine, starting with the breath and then the tailbone. We'll take 2 more rounds in your own breath, focusing on starting with the breath and then letting that exhale be that ujjayi warming breath. Then coming into a neutral spine, we're going to begin to just move the hips side to side, kind of windshield wiper those hips. Then as they find their kind of max on the side here, just begin to push back toward the heel, kind of, and then move back to the other side. So it's making sort of a, like you're drawing a rainbow shape with those hips. Just warming up. And enjoying the stretch. And if the stretch does not feel good or welcome today, feel free to modify it to a way that does feel welcome in your body. 1 more full time. And coming through neutral, let's flip the toes, spreading the fingers wide again, and push up into downward facing dog. Pushing the hands away from the mat. Letting those hips move high, begin to walk out the dog. Straightening one leg and bending the other. As that heel, the straight leg is heavy toward the mat. And even while you focus on walking out this dog, can you imagine a line of energy from the tailbone just moving up and back, a little diagonal angle. Then once you've evened out both sides, just let the heels get heavy, straightening both legs for a full breath. And then we'll drop to the knees and set the heels back for a Dadasna, which is child's pose with our hands back by our feet. Forehead finds the mat. And breathe. On your next inhale, stretch those arms out in palms wide and move into a high plank. And on your exhale, chaturanga push-up. So elbows hug the ribs all the way down to the mat. Spreading the fingers wide, push up, cobra. Heart shines forward. So the elbows pull back, heart shines through and forward. And then push back, find that child's pose again. Arms back, hands by the feet. Inhale, repeat, so those arms reach out and move you into the high plank. Exhale, tricep push-up, chaturanga all the way to the mats. Inhale and step cobra. And then for a nice long exhale with that ujjayi breath, push back. One full breath here in the child's pose. And then 2 more times, we're going to take this in your own breath. 1 breath per movement with an option of a full breath in that child's pose. Heart shines forward in the cobra. And take a few breaths in your child's pose, maybe kind of shifting those hips side to side. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. And when you're ready, Push forward through that tabletop and lift into your downward facing dog again. Just settling weight and heaviness into those heels as they reach toward the mat. Hands push away from the mat to lengthen through the back. On your next inhale, come to the very tips of your toes. Hips are high. Exhale, bend the knees and look forward. And we'll step into our forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Shoulder blades are coming together. Exhale, release. And then we'll roll up one vertebrae at a time into our mountain pose. Arms come overhead. Exhale, the hands to prayer, thumbs over the heart. Close the eyes. Lord, we thank you that you are with us. Lord, whether it feels like you're with us in each of our individual homes, right now, you are. Lord, I ask that you would open our eyes and our ears and our hearts to just perceive your presence and your voice sweetly speaking to us and sustaining us in each of our places. Thank you that your word is a rich well to our weary souls. Pour out your spirit and be glorified, Lord. We love you and we are here because we long to drink at the well of you. May it be so, Lord. In your name, amen. You can leave those eyes closed or you can flutter them open. And we'll inhale those arms overhead and exhale flat back, forward into your forward fold. And we're gonna workshop a little bit of weight shifting here. So just checking that your toes are pointed straight in front of you. Just make a really minute shift, sticking your hips behind your heels. So you can even, if you want to, bend your knees for this so your hands are on the ground while you play around. But just play around with taking your hips back. We're gonna really exaggerate and just notice what that feels like. And then take the hips, shift them forward so that the hips are stacked right above the knees, right above the heels. And just play with that a few times. Making sure to keep a little micro bend in the knee at least so you're not hyperextending through the joint. And then we're gonna do the same thing in a halfway lift. So start by taking those hips back, tending to that little micro bend in the knees again, and then inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. And now shift the weight right on top of the heels. And now take an inhale, halfway lift. And release. Just start to notice what's different in those two. So maybe play around taking one or the other. But noticing here, the hips over the heels, there's more strength to be had in the legs. So that you're more able to stretch through this upper body to engage the core as we lift. Just keeping track of that as we do so many halfway lifts throughout our flow of the class, tending to those hips being right over the heels here. Plant the hands and step back into your high plank. Let's exhale, chaturanga. Go halfway, option to do the up dog here or to take cobra again. Again, making sure that heart shines forward so those elbows can pull back slightly as the collarbone opens, heart moves forward. Downward dog. Inhale to the tips of the toes. Bend the knees and look forward. And let's take some slow walks into our into our forward fold. So just as little steps as you can and try to accentuate going heel, toe. Just working some intentionality through the feet. And then halfway lift and hold for 3 breaths. Checking in where those hips are, directly over the shoulders. Release. And flat back, all the way up to that mountain pose again. Looking up toward those hands, and then exhale the hands to prayer. Close the eyes. Just remembering and recentering, who is it that you're here to be with? Who are you slowing down to have some focused communion with? Flutter those eyes open and let's heel toe together to drop into chair. So big toes together, heels are an inch apart, and as you drop down, keep a little space between those knees as well. Now, while our halfway lift, we want our hips to be forward, right over the hips, and our chair, we want them to sit back so that our knees are what is tracking right over our heels. I like to lift my toes here and to give that a try. It really forces my hips back. And as the hips move back and down slightly, a nice line of energy is coming right out of the head, so you've got a nice long spine. 2 more breaths. Release. Inhale, halfway lift. Plant the hands and step or hop back to that high plank. Optional chaturanga push-up and up dog, or all meet in downward facing dog. And again, as those hips move high, just like we did in our chair, the hips are going to move up and back, but let the head get heavy at that diagonal angle to have a nice long spine. When you're ready, begin to shift the weight into the left heel so that right heel can come up overhead, 3-legged dog. Breathing here for 3 breaths. You can open that hip, dropping the knee, dropping the shin, taking some ankle circles, some hip circles. And inhale back into that 3-legged dog, so toes are toward the mat, heels high. And exhale, pull the knee into the chest through that plank. Inhale it high. Right knee to right tricep. Inhale up. Right knee, left shoulder. Inhale it up one last time, and then knee to the chest. Set it down, a long lunge, hand behind the calf, if that's helpful to elongate here. We're just gonna stay here for a few breaths. If it's helpful, you can tint those fingers. So then turning the full palm of the mat, it's just the fingertips on the mat. We're gonna play around just with strengthening and stretching here through this left hip flexor. So just moving slightly back and forth, like a little rocking motion from this left heel, just pushing back and up. That's a great stretch there, but then we're gonna do a little strengthening here. So it's gonna look very same, a super minute movement. Find stillness in that heel, and then we're gonna draw this right hip back slightly. That's gonna allow this left forward. So it's like a scissoring motion between the inner thighs, between those hips. And just notice you'll feel less strength, stretching through that left hip flexor, but just this general strength in the hips. And then release that scissoring motion and take that nice long stretch again through the hip flexor. Then as you inhale, scissor those together again. Feeling the strength. And then one more time, stretch. And then scissor, squaring off the hips to strengthen. And then from this place of pulling this right hip back, inhale up, crescent lunge. Exhale a little lower. Next exhale, frame the foot with those hands, step back into the high plank. Optional vinyasa through here or meet in downward facing dog. One breath, returning to your Ujjayi breath here in down dog if you've lost it. And then on an inhale, shift the weight to the right heel, left heel comes high. 3 breaths. Now open through the hip, bend the knee, drop the shin. Option to take ankle circles and hip circles. And then inhale it high, toes toward the mat, heel toward the ceiling, and then exhale, knee to chest through that plank. Inhale it up. Left knee, left tricep. Remembering to breathe. Left knee, right shoulder. Inhale up. And then knee to chest. Set it down in that long lunge. Again, using the hand behind the calf if that's helpful. So tenting the fingers, that was helpful, or you're welcome to grab blocks. It just kind of helps us not to dump into the upper body here. Block, or you can even grab like a book or something. Very helpful. Now rocking back and forth now through this right heel. Just a very slight movement. Giving a little micro bend in that right knee to tend to the joint. And now let's find an inhale to scissor and square off to strengthen through the hips. So now it's going to be this left hip. It's going to move back ever so slightly and scissor then the right up, and you'll feel the little lift that that gives you. And relax into it, taking that stretch. Inhale, scissor the hips. So right hip back, left comes forward, just ever so slightly. Stretch, last time. Then scissor together. And from this scissoring position on your next inhale, push the feet into the mat to lift up, crescent lunge. Belly button toward the spine. Exhale takes you lower. Feeling again that scissoring motion. So if you start to feel a little extra stretch here in this right hip flexor, that scissoring motion can help return to that strength so you're not overstressing through flexibility that right hip flexor. Release on an exhale, frame the front foot. Inhale steps you high into the plank. Option to take this vinyasa through or meet in downward facing dog. Then drop to child's pose. Option to take those hands long, or take that Dadasna again. With the hands back by the feet, just allowing those shoulders to round and relax forward. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. What does it stir up in you to think of God? Not even to think of God as, but to know for a fact that God tells us here, he does not grow faint. He does not grow weary. Now let's take a moment to remember that our everlasting God also took on flesh. Because our God is so other than us, so different than us in this way. He entered our space, which include entering this human body that gets tired, that gets weary, that just doesn't want to anymore, whether that's in body or mind or emotionally, whatever. Jesus felt that. Now notice, what does that bring up in you? What is God inviting you into? This our everlasting God, who is also your sympathetic high priest. Now, as always, if you want to continue in this place of prayer with God and stillness, please do. Please do that. That is truly the most important work of our class. Now, if you would like to continue moving through and talking to God and praying through movement, let's go ahead and make our way back to our downward facing dog again. Just continuing to talk to God about this. Belly button finds the spine in this down dog. Inhale to the tips of the toes. Bend the knees and look forward. You can step or hop to the top of the mat in that forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. And let's roll up one vertebrae at a time into our mountain pose. Now, if you have your yoga strap or you grabbed a hand towel, go ahead and grab that. I've got mine doubled up here, so I would recommend that if you have a really long one like I do. And we're just going to move into standing big toe here. So finding those nice mountain feet, so toes are pointed directly in front of you. Feet hip width apart. Begin to shift the weight into the left foot. Nice and solid and strong there. A little micro bend of the knee to protect the joint again. And so what we're moving into is essentially extending out this right leg. So option without a prop, you can take peace fingers in between the big toes, or if that's not comfortable, you can also grab like the pinky edge side of the foot and extend it out. So with my anatomy, my arms are just not really long enough to do that compared to my legs, and my torso has to round forward to do that well. So strap is my friend here. So if you're going to do that, wrap the strap or the towel around the ball of your foot and flexing the foot will be flexed no matter what. Just grab onto it so that it's nice and tight. You don't want it loose. But walk those hands forward, and from there you can extend. And let's feel as you're up. If you don't have the strap, you're also welcome to keep that knee bent and just work. That'll be great strengthening. It'll bring a lot of heat. An invitation to elongate if that is for you today. And just breathe, standing tall, energy out of the crown of the head. Using the straps, pull the biceps a little bit to pull it in, getting a little bit of that similar scissoring action in the hips. And we're going to release. Coming out of that, if you have the strap, you can go ahead and drop it now. And we're going to move back into warrior three. So keeping the foot flexed, toes are toward the mat. Just going to move forward here. Now this here, the foot is off, great warrior three. The goal is to have a line of energy from the heel to the crown of the head. So whatever that looks like for you, as high as that heel comes up, that tells you how far the upper body goes down. So as we move and find that edge, maybe heel goes up, then lower body. Just moving to find that space for you. 2 more breaths. If you fall out of it, come back into it. And release, we're gonna sit down into pyramid. So just set that back leg down, kind of a short stance, not a full lunge length. And just fall forward. Toes are pointing to the front of the mat. The head is heavy, reaching, crown of the head reaches toward the mat. Flex the front toes, stretch through the calves here. Getting in that, bend that back leg here to get a nice long stretch through the calf. The full length of the back of the left leg. Finding that pyramid again. We're just gonna move back into a forward fold. Halfway lift, shoulder blades move together. Exhale, release. And let's reverse the swan dive all the way back up to our mountain pose. Exhale the hands to prayer. Recentering again on the God that you has invited you here. Now grabbing again, if you have it, your yoga strap or your hand towel, let's take it on the left side. So standing up tall, begin to shift the weight into the right leg, coming up. So either again, peace fingers of the same left leg between the toes or to the pinky edge side of the foot, or towel or strap comes the ball of the foot, taking it out. Breathing tall here. Little scissor action, so bringing this left hip back. As the heel of the left foot stretches nice and long in front of you. 2 more breaths. Release the strap or the grasp that you have. And let's move back into our warrior 3. So keeping that flexed foot. Just move into whatever that pose looks like for you. Playing with your edge here. Then you can notice, perhaps have those hips shifted behind the hip, hyperextending the knee. Just like we did before in our half lift, you want the hip to be directly over the heel, which will ultimately give you more strength and better balance. So just taking some notice of that, making adjustments as necessary. Helping that Ujjayi breath fire up warmth into the body, keeping you going when you might want to just let it go. Stepping back into pyramid, short stance, fall forward. Crown of the head reaches down, heavy to the mat. Flex the foot. Option to bend to that back knee. Set that foot down, stepping back into the forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Plant the hands, step or hop back into your high plank. Optional vinyasa through. Let's meet in child's pose. Our God, the Lord, the everlasting God, gives power to the faint. And to him who has no might, he increases strength. The everlasting God gives power to the faint. And to him who has no might, he increases strength. Just talk to God about that. The invitation remains to talking to God again here in your child's pose. We're continuing the conversation with him in movement. So if you're ready, you can just roll up onto those heels, swing the legs around, scooting forward if that's necessary and helpful. Let's just sit up tall. So toes are flexed, pointed toward the ceiling. You can move the fascia. It's kind of just grabbing like, the meaty part of the sides of the glutes and scoot them out of the way so you can really feel the sits bones on the mat. Arms come down. So arms are going to point right in front of you. You can turn them out slightly. It's up to you. And just sit up tall. Belly button toward the spine. Then pull those knees in just slightly. We're going to move onto the back, knees into the chest. And then we'll take some yogic bicycles. So here, let's take, keeping the left knee in, take the right leg long, point it out. Let's lift up. So hands behind the head, elbows out. So it's going to be the right elbow reaches to the right leg, left knee, excuse me. Other side. Pairing breath and movement here. So I like to take inhale on the left, inhale right, exhale, exhale. So continue breath, but I've got 2 going per movement. Let's take 4 more breaths in and out. Last one. Knees to the chest. And let's rock and roll back up. So you're starting with little rocks in the small of the back. Let them become bigger. Finding a balance in the small of the back. The very top. So that balance is going to require you to have energy out of the crown of the head, straightening through the spine. One last time. And then let's sit tall again. So taking those legs out, toes toward the ceiling, hands down by the sides. And depending on the length of your arms, really try to push like the hands into the mat. And if that requires a little bend in the elbows, that's fine. That'll just kind of depend on the length of your arms compared to your torso. Sitting up tall, belly button toward the spine. Exhale, just melt forward to walk those hands down the legs. And we're not trying to work knee to nose, we're just working straight spine. So energy out of the crown of the head will be at a diagonal. Inhale will take you back up to that Dadasna. It's like a seated mountain. Exhale, just pull forward. We'll just do 1 more of these. Coming back through our seated mountain, we're going to move into boat pose. So we're going to find that balance. And it might take a few rock and rolls to get into it. And so it's this balance that we take at the top of our rock and roll, finding that sweet spot here. Option to keep the legs bent or to take them long, that's up to you. But before you worry about the legs, think about the head. So bring the belly button toward the spine, and then you want nice energy shooting out of the crown of the head. So out this back diagonal, so you can have a nice long spine here. And take the arms out, palms up. So keeping the knees bent or taking them out long. Let's hold. Breathing open through the collarbones here. Three more breaths. coming out of it. If you rock and roll out of it, just come back up and find it. Pull the knees into the chest, and just take that rock and roll. And then sitting up, we're gonna take a seated twist. So let's start by taking, let that right leg fall over, and then cross this left foot over the right. You might need to move this heel out of the way here. So you wanna set down nice and tall onto this left hip. And so you can either wrap around this bent leg and twist from there, or option, you can also palm open, twist around. So just taking, it's like the bicep or the tricep is coming against this leg and twist open. So wherever you are, we're just working a twist here. So belly button comes toward to the spine, and then we'll twist open. You can even take a half bind here if that's part of your practice. Releasing, coming out of that, and we'll take the other side. So again, option to just wrap and to twist open, or to open the palm and take the tricep above the knee and twist open. But whichever variation you choose, it's belly button toward the spine, and as you exhale, open up. Breathing here. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. It's tempting to go on to the next verse right away about God giving us strength and renewing us, but let's just sit here. Even youths shall faint and be weary. Young men shall fall exhausted. Unwind, and we'll make our way back to downward facing dog. Just noting that God knows your reality here. He knows your life. He knows your limits, probably better than you do. And just take a little mini three-legged dog, just barely lifting this right foot, and then pull it into a nice long lunge. And drop that back knee. I'll switch here to give you a better view where we're going. And we're gonna take a twist here. So option to stretch here with that knee down, or you can take a twist. So you'll have to scissor those hips, being extra attention to that, pushing that left hip back slightly. Lifting up, so tricep again is gonna come above the knee. Fist with this right bottom hand, pushing up on the left. Take a twist. Energy out of the crown of the head. That the everlasting God knows your frame. He knows your limits. And he doesn't tell you to be better, to do more. He just says, come to me as you are. Release, plant the hands, and you can take an optional vinyasa through or meet in downward facing dog. We'll take that on the other side. It's just a mini little three-legged dog pulling through. So dropping the back knee, an option to remain in the stretch here or to take the twist. So scissoring those hips, this right hip will push back slightly. Tricep crosses over, fist on the bottom, palm on top, push up. And stretch into the twist here. Bring the deepen, the twist. So just talk to God as the one who knows you. Releasing out of this, we'll step back into a brief child's pose. Rolling up, coming on to the back again. We're going to take a reclined bound angle, such as butterfly legs. So bottoms of the feet are together, hips go out heavy and wide. Close the eyes if that's comfortable to you and open the palms to the ceiling. I'm just even personally struck right now that God just states my weariness, my lack, my limits. I don't even want to say lack, but my limits. And he doesn't have an ounce of shame here. And let's just think for a moment and just talk to God. When was the last time that you thought to yourself, gosh, I shouldn't be this tired. I shouldn't be weary. Like, things are fine. I'm not sick on a ventilator or trying to get a ventilator with the coronavirus. I still have my job, or I'm still able to pay my bills even though I have lost income. I shouldn't be like this. I shouldn't be weary. I shouldn't be antsy. I should be fine. People have it so much worse. And yet there's not an ounce of that in God's voice here. He just says you have limits. Even youth shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. Here's the invitation. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Pushing those bottoms of the feet together, let those knees come together, and take a moment to take any final pose, any other stretch that your body's asking for. But if you're ready, you can also make your way into a corpse pose, just relaxing back on your mat, palms open by the sides. I just hear the words of Jesus. The everlasting God, the one who does not grow faint or weary, and yet the one who willingly took on flesh, which certainly includes weariness and tiredness, feeling faint, just feeling done. And his words just ring out of these words from the Old Testament in Isaiah. Come to me, all who are burdened and heavy laden, and I will give you rest for your souls. Take my yoke, the yoke of the everlasting God, who does not grow faint and weary. I'm going to take yours. You take mine instead. It's easy. Its yoke is light. Verse 31 in Isaiah here, but they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Just take the next few minutes in your Savasana to just be with this God, to settle into this invitation from Him. Maybe it's the waiting of just feeling weary, the waiting for Him, the being with Him in it. Maybe you're in the joy of the receiving. Wherever you are, just take these next few minutes to be with our God today. Now you're welcome to continue in this place of stillness. Just rest with God. However, if you're ready, you can start to bring some movement back to your body by gently wiggling your fingers and toes. Just let those movements become larger until you find yourself on your right side using your bicep as a pillow. And using your forearms and your hands, push yourself up to a seated position with ease. The top of your mat. One last time, let's inhale our arms overhead and exhale our hands over our heart. Thumbs right over the heart. We're going to thank you. Just thank you that your word, it does quench the soul. Thank you, God, that you are good and that you're with us and that your invitations to us are real and that they're sweet. Holy Spirit, keep your word at the forefront of our minds, on our hearts, on our mouths, the foundation of our lives, Lord, so that we can live out of this place of you, life with you. Be glorified, Lord, and help us to only get up from our mats with you, that we get to go into our days with you. Thank you for that gift, Lord, the gift of you. In your name, amen. Well, thanks so much for joining in today. It was a really big gift to move with you and to pray with you. And gosh, I needed that. So I hope you did too. And I just pray and feel expectant that God met you and will continue to meet you through his word and through just space and prayer with him. We'll be back here again on next Thursday and Saturday at 1:30 Eastern on the same Zoom link. So I look forward to seeing you there. And I just want to let you know that I run my classes through donation. So if you're able to donate financially, there's two options for that. The first would be my Venmo. The username is Megan Holy Yoga, or my GoFundMe page, which you can find on my website, which is reviveyogastudio.com. So if you are able to financially donate, those are options for you. But however, I also know that just this time of quarantine with coronavirus has been financially straining on so many people. And just wanted to let you know that I want you to keep coming. If that's not something you're able to do, please keep showing up and just consider with God maybe how he's asking you to be generous with resources that you do have. And maybe that's through prayer, through picking up groceries for your neighbor next time you're out, just sharing the word, what God's doing with you with a friend, opening up to someone, whatever that looks like. Just ask God about that and just consider it. So thank you guys. I really look forward to doing this again with you soon. And feel free to message me if I can pray for you in any way, or if you have any scripture or yoga requests in particular. I would be more than delighted to incorporate those into some of our upcoming classes. So see you next time, guys.